You're
But
right.
I think the DeFi part's kind of big about it. Like that's going to make people stay because you can earn yield. Like,
all right, we got Fiat Leak up for everyone joining, but I can't see my screen. No, we're gonna go here. Why doesn't it stay up? Okay. Welcome, everyone. I can't see the chat screen, though, when I do this.
Oh. Okay.
I thought there was a way. Oh, wait, there it goes. I think everyone sees it. How we doing, guys? How we doing, XRP Lou, Don, staying alpha? Hey, man, Doge blowing up over there. You got to be excited. I mean, I'm sure he is.
It's almost at 20 cents now or something.
It's number 8 on CoinMarketCap. Doge doing work.
That's crazy.
All right, we'll put the fiat screen, but I can't see the chat when I do this, though. Yeah, Japan's getting some action, I'll tell you that. 176.
And I haven't taken a look at this webpage in a while. I used to be all over it.
Me too. I haven't looked at this, to be honest, in a while either. Look at Doge up 50% today. 18 cents. Woo. Everything's kind of up today. Wow, what a day.
I mean, Doge is up like 3x in the past couple of days.
Yeah,
like
monster.
Crazy amount, yeah.
What I'm noticing, and one thing I will say from Fiat Leak, looking at Fiat Leak, I would say 6 months or so ago, we did not have this kind of volume to Europe. I don't remember that much going to Europe that we see now. So that's a good sign. Korea and Japan are just it's insane amount of volume that goes through there. Look at that one by 195,000, 196,000, just exploding through Korea and Japan. I mean, the UK, we have a lot of people from the UK, but there just doesn't ever see too much volume from the UK.
Yeah. There used to be, like, I remember the ODL tracker too. Like, there are way more countries. I don't know if it's just them updating or like what the deal is on their end. Cause like, I remember when there was like 4 countries in this thing at a time. And now there's just tons of it going on. All the transactions like globally. But it is interesting to see it evolve.
Well, the one thing, I mean, that ODL tracker, you know, the utility scan, I think is good, but I think there's a lot of transactions that go just XRP to XRP sometimes, and they might not show up in some of those ODL trackers, you know, and
well, also if they're using like the, you know, the exchange wallets to move around and stuff, like that's a little different. Yeah.
I think when they batch those transactions together, that's something that is a bunch of transactions then going at once. So how do you actually see that? So, all right, so let's get started here. How many people we got in? We'll go back to this. Okay. All right, welcome everyone. I think we're going to get started. I think we got our mods in here. Exciting day. We're almost back at, well, we were over 180 before for XRP. We were just saying that, no, Mickey did not buy Doge. Unfortunately, I grabbed a little XDC though, which has done well. I got a shallow bag, but to be honest, I'm mostly in XRP. I mean, pretty much before it blew up, I pretty much consolidated the little amounts that I had elsewhere. But yeah, I'm XRP. I mean, for right now, Patty, I don't know. I think
yeah, I'm 100%, but I'm also very risk on with it. So I'm just, I saw biggest ROI with XRP in the like medium term. So that's kind of what I went for, being young and not having a ton of responsibilities and stuff like to, you know, for other people. So yeah.
All right.
I will say
you're looking pretty brilliant, Patty.
We'll see. It's a long game. We got to see how this turns out. Can't count your chickens before they hatch, right, Lars?
That is correct. Yes. Watch out for the crows.
Lars knows. All right. So one thing that was really cool that came out today, as John Deaton found, I'm not sure if John Deaton found this, but more corruption from the SEC has been revealed. So John Deaton says, I've been working on the XRP holders brief on the intervention all day. It's amazing when you sit down and read what's been said or written. If I wasn't reading it myself and someone quoted some of the SEC enforcement statements, I wouldn't believe it's likely been taken out of context. For example, here is one of the SEC response on BTC and ETH discovery motion. On page 7, the SEC claims that its own views on whether an asset is a security are irrelevant. I mean, what? Like, how is their own views irrelevant when you're actually stating you're bringing enforcement action against one of the biggest cryptocurrencies and oldest cryptocurrencies, older than Ethereum, pretty much on XRP, and saying you don't even know what it is. You know, it's irrelevant what we think. But then you're trying to enforce it. I mean, does that make sense? It's really a contradiction, right, Patty and Lars?
I mean, everything they've been doing is a contradiction at this point to me. I mean, what they go, so like they bring a lawsuit against XRP basically saying, you know, this is a security, but then they turn around and say, oh, we don't actually know if this is security. It's for the courts to decide. It's just like, what are you doing over there? It doesn't make any sense at all. They missteps the entire time.
Exactly. And now there's this guy, where was the news? I'm going to try and find it, but I think we saw it earlier that one of the SEC directors who brought the case against against Ripple actually then left and went to work for that same law firm as William Hinman did for the Ethereum Foundation.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's starting to get ridiculous here how there's obviously these people who are all involved with the enforcement action against Ripple. You know, William Hinman, Clayton, this other guy who is an enforcement director, I believe, or somewhere in the enforcement division, all just happen to have ties and connections and were being paid by a law firm that was part of the Ethereum Foundation. And remember, the Ethereum is where all the ICO boom started. That was ground zero for that whole ICO craze. And nobody ever really came down on Ethereum for that. And I think they just kind of just let it happen. Meanwhile, it all happened on Ethereum. And 4 years later, let's go after Ripple and say it's a digital security. Meanwhile, we don't have to. It's irrelevant what we think is a security. Like, I don't know. They're in really disarray right now. And I think not John Deaton, but Gensler needs to get the house in order over there at the SEC because things are running amok. And it's starting to get a little embarrassing, circus-like. And it's only a matter of time before Congress sees this. Well, another aspect here when Gensler said, is it going to be the CFTC or is it going to be the SEC who's going to be the ones who ultimately oversee the crypto space? I mean, I think the SEC pretty much just disqualified themselves by their actions. And maybe the CFTC just let them embarrass themselves because they know that really the CFTC is the agency that should be oversight over crypto, over exchanges, over derivatives, and they're forward thinking. They have a really good fintech lab. They understand DeFi actually. Chris Brummer, I think, is a genius, and he's more forward thinking than Gensler. You know, Gensler, I get, he was an MIT professor. What's your thoughts on Brummer, Patty?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I hope just like for America's sake that the CFTC is going to get a hold of most of the enforcement and just like regulations on crypto. I mean, just like from all the videos they put out and everything, they're really trying to understand what's going on instead of for the past 4 years. We just saw Jay Clayton, you know, basically having a smug face whenever he was asked anything about some kind of regulation or like just regarding all the innovation going on with cryptocurrencies. I mean, like he would be asked stuff by like, you know, lawyers at Coinbase or like heads there I saw in a video, and he just like, you know, laughed them off basically. And, you know, everybody, they're coming to the SEC, they're trying to get like, what do we need to do so that you guys don't sue us? And, you know, they're just kind of like, we're just going to sue you anyways. We don't really care. I mean, that's what it seems like. So,
yeah. It does. One thing that...
So, Patty,
go ahead.
Yeah.
I was working on a video about Flare today and about governance, and just so impressed with what Flare Network is trying to do with governance. And it seems like here we're looking at examples where people can grab power for themselves, centralize control of things. And I don't know if you're interested in it, but like, how would this look different if this was a liquid democracy? If each of the players had detachable votes that they could put into this conversation and shift them around when they saw this kind of corruption happening. I think that's Flair's network, that or their dream, that things will be self-correcting and that the group together will be making decisions that will be much more proper than what we're seeing now. And I don't know, it's maybe kind of abstract, but I'm just curious.
No, I'm with you, because like the people, so like in the US, basically citizens have, it's a republic, so we have delegates that we elect and then they vote on stuff. So with the liquid democracy, instead of being locked into one for like 4 years or 6 years in the case of the Senate, where they may just do everything you didn't want them to do, or they go against, the people they're supposed to be representing, their constituents, then you have an immediate like consequence to doing that. So if you want people to continue to delegate votes to you, so, you have a little power when you can make votes on stuff as a delegate. So if you want that to continue to come, you are going to have to be very accountable to the people that are delegating their vote to you, because they will leave you in a split second. And I think that's extremely powerful, because what we see with a lot of these people, they're in a position of power for multiple years, and we're stuck with that, unless they like act well. But for the most part, we see like with the SEC, they're not, they're taking advantage of their office and really not representing the people. So
Absolutely. So here I share the screen here. It talks about what liquid democracy is for the 21st century. And in this second paragraph, it brings up an interesting point. It says, basically, it leads to overall better governance of a state. But because of this, liquid democracy naturally evolves into meritocracy, where decisions are mainly made by those who have the kind of knowledge and experience required to make well-informed decisions on issues. And I think this is important because, we might not have all the technical know-how to make some of these decisions, but we could delegate our votes to those who we know have the technical know-how to make the right decisions and governance for the network. And this creates really a powerful strength for evolution of the network to continue to evolve and be at its best. And you don't have these misaligned incentives with Flare. And I think that's really good, because look at all the hard forks on Bitcoin. And, to an extent, the XRP Ledger has been able to, do things, and Ripple has had a big influence on that. But I think they're even looking to, add more of a democracy approach once they get past the ledger being really robust the way they did. And speaking of that, Patty, we have some new amendments that were passed on the XRP ledger recently. So we have 3 new amendments and 3 more up for votes too.
yeah, I know a couple of them were bug fixes, and then there's one that it's basically called, it's hardened validations, and it's basically meant to like give the validators just like strengthen the entire consensus. I'm not as in tune with how they get that to work basically, but they've added some additional fields for like the nodes to use so that they can add like strength to the overall consensus, is basically the gist of it. So we'll see how that turns out. But I think it's at the bottom of this page.
It's the bottom. Hardened validations allows validators to include a new optional field in their validations to attest to the hash of the last ledger that the validator considers to be fully validated. The consensus process can use this information to increase robustness of the consensus. And I think they increased the validators in the UNL to 36 now. Amendment could activate with exactly 28 of 36 validators. So there's 36 in the UNL now, but an amendment could have activate with exactly 28, which is approximately 78. Oh, so it has to have more than that now. So they fixed something here. And then the next three are pretty interesting too. I mean, we don't need to go into that today, but something Lars here was pointing out that I thought was interesting is the Interledger Foundation launches to build a more equitable and creative opportunities on the web. So this is nice to see that, you know, the core team of developers behind Interledger were from Ripple, but now it's like they're handing it over now to like a full open payments community. And it says here, the development community will advance an open payments network, allowing for broader participation in economic opportunities on the web.
What
Yeah.
was it that happened last year? Was that the XRP Foundation being
Yes.
established?
That was the XRP one. And now we have an Interledger, like a true foundation. They're handing the foundation's mission is to steward and advocate for Interledger, an open protocol. And web native payments feature is still reserved for future use according to its 402 error code. The gap has been filled over the last 30 years. They're doing grants through the web here. And they also have a new, though founding members are Coil and Ripple and its board of directors, the foundation will advance and support the Interledger protocol and its open source community in developing better technological standards. They're also part of Moja Loop, but the person who they put as the executive director is not associated with Ripple or anybody. So I thought that was interesting, fostering interoperability. Grant for the web monetization. So there's a new web monetization browser API, which provides an open, native, and efficient and automatic way to compensate creators that does not force them to rely on advertising. And I do think this is where the future is here. And this has to do with Cinnamon Puma browser, which we are now on Cinnamon, right, Patty?
Yeah, we might be now. We were definitely getting like verified. I
Okay.
set that up 2 days ago, so I'll probably, once I see that's confirmed, put out an announcement. But yeah, we're gonna start putting some of or I guess we'll put all of our YouTube videos onto Cinnamon as well for those that would like to avoid the ads and are part of like the Coil community and everything. So I'm looking forward to that. I think long term, like the best way to do this is basically like you're streaming payments and a person's work is basically how much other people are consuming of it, which, you know, I think for content creators is probably one of the, best metrics to measure how well you're doing. It's just how much people are actually paying attention to you and like, watching your content because they find it valuable. And then you get the payment streamed to you. So like this Interledger stuff is going to be massive in the future. And, it's one of the like less talked about things that's involved with the XRPL and Ripple and all that. But it's really laying the groundwork with like, Web 3.0 and all that stuff. So I'm very excited. It also seems so like, we're seeing the XRP Ledger Foundation get rolled out. We're seeing an Interledger Foundation rolled out. We're seeing the push for like Ripple X to like showcase the development on the XRP Ledger, Flare's connecting, adding DeFi. So like it also Ripple's still steaming ahead in like Asia and everything with their payments. They're getting new partners. It just seems like there's a lot of buildup right now. And the one thing that's, blocking the floodgates from opening basically is this case. So, I think we may see a lot more coming out, especially as this thing looks more and more wrapped up and, Ripple sees the all go and XRP's cleared. There's a lot of like built up energy that's just ready to like flourish for the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that. Well, Stephen Thomas is still the chairperson. We got Larson as a chairperson. We got this woman, Constantine, from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I think that's a guy. Evan Schwartz, we know from Ripple and Interledger. And then we also have somebody else from Coil. So, I mean, it is the familiar characters with others mixed in. But yeah, this is good to see more of a decentralized approach. It's not just all Ripple doing all this stuff. And I thought that was, a really powerful thing here. And they are focusing on web monetization. This is the future. I think, do you think this, Patty and Lars, that eventually we're going to see like web monetization and DeFi? At some point, I think we're going to see a convergence there. and with crypto. Because on the web, we have Web3, browser extensions like MetaMask, and web payments is right there. So I see Coil and Interledger more integrating that to the traditional markets and e-commerce to where we can have that super wallet that I've been talking about, hopefully coming soon.
Yeah. And I mean, like with your point to how like DeFi is going to converge with all this stuff, I mean, I just see tons of industries like moving over to the blockchain. Like I think everything can benefit from a decentralized approach. So like, I mean, this is basically laying the groundworks for the future global economy, how people are going to be connected, how we're going to make it easy for folks to like transfer stuff. Like people that may be familiar with Venmo, like it's really easy for me to send money to my friend. It's not going to cost me anything. The only downside right now is they have to wait a day for it to get into their bank account. But this is going to open it up where you immediately have that money and can put it to work. So like think about people that may have to do like, payday loans and stuff because they have so much time and they're living paycheck to paycheck and they're losing some of their paycheck every time they enter into one of those. Like this is going to allow the streaming of payments daily to people. Our accounting processes are going to get faster. So it's just, I mean, it's all part of the future and it's like slowly building together, but you got to make sure there's the right foundation there and one that's able to be flexible and robust and can adjust over time as needed. Because like we're going to continue to get these technological advances and we can't just be building new systems every time one of those comes around. We need them to be able to plug into what's currently laid out. And our current system doesn't have that ability, but luckily blockchain does. So it's cool to see all this stuff starting to flourish now.
For me, I visited a farm recently that I was really excited by in Montana, a cattle farm, and those guys are spending such a huge percentage of their income on paying the bank interest. And there's really no other choice if you're going to buy a farm and you need to get liquidity or make a loan. And it occurred to me like, if XRP does really, really well, and we get to that point of being able to tokenize everything, we could tokenize that farm and I could take over the portion of the loan that the bank currently holds. And instead of them having to pay interest on that loan all the time, I just get an ownership share in the farm. They have so much left for themselves. It's just like one example. I don't know if it would ever happen, but the amount of liquidity that gets released when we take over these bank functions for ourselves about things we care about, even like making a loan for the neighbor for their car.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that money is staying on the block instead of going back to New York City or something. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, think about like, let's say you live in like a smaller community and there's some kind of business that would benefit, the community as a whole. They now have the ability to pool their funds, or, they will with what's being built out with DeFi, to pool their funds together and, help that business get started. They'll have a stake in it and get return. And like they're making decisions to directly benefit their community. And that's like this whole thing on decentralization. It's like, let's make decisions at the community level where the people that are most affected are involved in it. So, I mean, I think it goes just to that, like, helping each other out and all that stuff. So I think it's a bright future. And I did see a nice question here from Gareth that said, do you guys fancy speculating on who some of these agents could be on the Flare network? And he said, could exchanges get involved potentially? I think one firm that I'm especially looking for is Pack Global, because they like run all these nodes and everything across different blockchains. So they have a ton of access to data, that you'll be able to run machine learning on, data analytics. So you can know how you need to basically like, format and like manage your collateral positions and know when redemptions are going to come and go. So I think that's one. And I don't know, Mickey, you want to hop in with some other thoughts you have there?
Sure. So I think we'll see the agent. I think the agents will be some of the exchanges. In a video from the Interledger Summit, Flare CTO Sean Rowan did a presentation, and he specifically describes a exchange plugging into one side of the Flare network and then to the other side of the XRP ledger for liquidity. And XRP Ledger has these gateways that also allow, so besides connecting just to the Flare network and XRP Ledger, it has a third way to a fiat on-ramp and off-ramp. And I think we could see like a Bitstamp or somebody who could connect to both Flare and XRP Ledger and act as a gateway there. And I do think that, and Hugo hinted at that when I did an interview with Brad Kimes, interviewing Hugo. And he said that it's the usual suspects. You know, he didn't want to name names, but I do think that we could see crypto banks. I think we could also see some CeFi, some custodians, some VC funds like a Genesis, you know, but I think exchanges are kind of going to sit in that mix. Was there any other entities that you think would fit in there? I mean,
I think you hit on a bunch of them, and you know, just as far as like requirements that are going to be needed for agents, so you can get an idea that it's more likely going to be firms. Like they're going to need a lot of capital on demand in case of, you know, high volatility in the prices of F-assets or Spark. And one of the ways that like agents would fully close themselves out is they're going to have to basically get FXRP and negate their position by returning it. So like, you know, they're going to have to be able to source that. And then also it's like, if you're sitting there and you're an agent and you basically get control of the native asset, like part of that value proposition where you're taking the risk of managing collateral is that you now can like, you know, earn interest with like, let's say the XRP that you are receiving when people are minting F assets. So like, they're definitely going to want to take advantage of that. It's just going to be really difficult for individuals to do. So, I mean, I just completely see it being like firms, especially ones involved in blockchain already, or, you know, that already deal in derivatives and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And now one thing that has been added to the XRPL.org is they kind of upgraded some of the documentation on becoming an XRP Ledger gateway. And they show 3 different business models here. Issuing gateway, which could issue different assets like IOUs, or issued currencies, which could be fiat, gold, commodities. And then we also have a private exchange. That's what we're talking about here. So the exchanges could do that. And then merchants, which I know they kind of backed off right now. It says does not provide support. For these two, though, this could be like a bank or financial institution. And private exchange is like your GateHub, Bitstamp, and possibly others in the future, like even a Kraken or what's that new bank called in Wyoming?
Anchorage.
Anchorage is one too. Avanti.
Like Anchor, yeah.
Avanti. And standard custody and trust with PolySign, because, you know, this is what the XRP Ledger, when Brian Brooks said we want banks to plug in, he mentioned them as nodes. Now, nodes are great if you're on them on Ethereum or Bitcoin, but XRP Ledger has these things called gateways. They're like super nodes. They don't have to validate transactions, but their back end of their legacy accounting system integrates with the XRP Ledger. So their clients then have access to the XRP Ledger and the other things built on top. So I think that's something we'll see in the future. And then they also are doing this, basically on the Ledger, you have a currency exchange for issuing these assets, and then they could trade against XRP. And the one thing's missing from the XRP Ledger has always been another decentralized counterparty-less asset. And that's where the RA stablecoin can play a very valuable role, I think, in the future. And I just want to let everyone know that on Monday, Brad Kimes and myself will be interviewing Matthew Rosenden, who is the creator of the Trustline Credit Network app, also the Probity Vault, and the RA stablecoin. He's a former RippleNet integration engineer with banks. He dealt with some of the biggest banks, PNC, Amex, and some big FX providers, Banco Riamento, down in South America, Latin. So I'm excited for that interview.
Yeah,
And that's going to be on Brad Kimes. I just wanted to say I got confused there. It's going to be on Brad Kimes' channel. We're going to do the interview there. And Brad and I go way back. So I'm looking forward to that and getting some information out of him. Because I think this is a huge product. Because it's bringing stablecoin credit network. So now this is a new aspect to DeFi. It's not just, Flare Finance is great with the yield farming, the liquidity pools, and the APY cloud. But opening it up to credit and a fiat off-ramp that's regulated in 50 cents with a money service provider license, that's going to get in the palm of our hands. That's going to really change the game, I think, for XRP Ledger and for fiat.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're getting close to a point where once Trustline establishes this fiat off-ramp, that you probably could go without having a bank if if you really wanted to. Like, I think that's a very real option that's coming up here shortly. And that is just absolutely, crazy to me. Like, that is super exciting. So we'll see how that goes. And I can't wait for that interview. I know we're going to have a ton of questions, and it's been a long time coming. And I'm really curious about what his like long-term aspirations are for that project. So we'll see how that goes. Lars, do you have any thoughts regarding all that?
For me, trying to get my head wrapped around Trustline and Probity Bank and stuff like that, it's a challenge. Like, there's Flare Finance that comes up. It's got all its different intricacies. Now Trustline, Probity Vault, the RA stablecoin, how they're going to do all that. And I'm sitting here thinking about all of us who are listening in, and I just want to make a pitch for Mickey's Patreon group and the Telegram group, because the things that we're talking about in here, they almost all showed up on the stream today. And it's not just Mickey that's making comments or Patty, but there's a bunch of really, really amazing people in that group that are sharing information. And I know for myself, if you're a holder of XRP or you're thinking about being involved in the Flare network, if you have knowledge, you're going to be way, way better off on this project. This is a bold thing that's coming up with all these new applications that we're talking about. So the involvement in wherever you can get good information, and there's no financial advice here, but knowing how the projects work and getting perspective on that. I just wanted to invite any of you that are listening to join in with the Patreon group, the Telegram, and the Zoom calls that happen there.
Yeah, and Lars, on that note, like, I've found that I'm way more comfortable with my crypto investments at this point from actually having an understanding of what's going on. It kind of allieves some of the anxiety to at least get a good enough base level where you realize that these blockchains are the XRP ledger's been running strong and consistently for 8 years now. Like, these are turning into robust systems where I'm not worried about my assets living there, and I don't feel like I need a bank to custody my assets for me anymore. And like, learning about all this stuff is going to help you so much more, especially when Flare goes live and it's a new thing. Like, I remember the first time that I set up my Nano Ledger, or the first time I had to move my crypto from one exchange to another. Like, it was kind of a stressful thing because you're moving your money, but as you learn more and you understand how these things work, I mean, it comes as easy as, doing a text message, and it's only going to get easier over time as like the applications are built for like the mainstream to use. We're going to see like payments be really easy. You're going to have easy usernames in the future. So, yeah, I think just like learning about it is the best way. Whether that's through YouTube videos or like reading, there's tons of information out there. And, if you want to take control of your finances like DeFi and blockchain kind of promise, then, you got to put in a little work for it for sure.
Yeah, early on for me, I was sharing, how excited I was about getting into XRP, and the person emailed me over this article from Forbes, I think it was at the time, how it's a pump and dump scheme. And it was like we could get our information in those places and like follow that kind of stuff of just like what's going to go up or down or based on that. But it's a completely different thing to get in and like realize what is being created here. And of course, one thing is for our investment, but another is to be sitting here on the cusp of just this world changing technology and culture and society that is just sitting on our doorstep, and really at this point still very few people aware of it. So I feel like we're in such a privileged position, and every time we get on this live stream and see this group together, or we're going through the Patreon or having a Zoom call, it's really a feeling of anticipation and privilege. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like, you see, like, the people, like, there's real communities here being built. And, there's people like, our society is very divided along politics right now. But, in crypto, like, there's tons of people with different viewpoints. And for the most part, like, people are starting to come together. I think as we're seeing the space mature, like, all the tribalism is slowing down, and it's becoming like one larger community, and players going to be a big part of that. So, bringing different blockchains together, we're going to have different ideas on what we thought about crypto, and, it's going to be a melting pot of governance to see where we could take this thing.
yeah, and who would have thought that word melting pot, or tribalism breaking down, would have been a part of the conversation even 9 months ago. And here we see this happening, and the speed at which stuff is happening is just incredible.
Yeah, exactly. And to move on, so I saw an interesting question from P2P Gold. So he was wondering if rewards are greater by delegating Spark to the FTSO, or through using like FDoge, FXRP, and FXLM. So basically, if you have Spark, you'll be able to delegate to the FTSO, earn that way, and then you can also bring on F-assets. Now, if you're thinking maybe to go all in on one or the other, I mean, sometimes it pays off to be a little diversified in that, especially with the new system. But the way you have to think about it is the F-asset rewards pool is going to be much more variable than the Spark FTSO delegation. And that's just because there's like a strict schedule for how the Spark's being released. So you kind of know what the supply of that is going to be through the first like couple years of the network going live. Now with F-assets, I mean, it's just like if a bunch of people want to bring on value, that can increase really fast. And the Spark price is going to adjust to accommodate that. So I think like in the very beginning, personal opinion that the general, like the F-asset rewards pool may be more lucrative, but then I think we'll see that change over time as more people catch on to that and more like F-asset values being brought onto the system. But yeah, that's definitely something to consider, like going into this for sure.
Okay, I just want to answer. This is a good question here. So, Man Pursue Excellence says, don't forget Flare Finance will have FUSD as a stablecoin. So, just to clarify some confusion here, that FUSD was part of the closing the circle of interoperability from the Flare networks. That is not Flare Finance, though. That is through Trustline, Credit App, and Probity Vault. So that FUSD is now the RA stablecoin. So this works in Probity Vault. You take your FXRP, you put it in the Probity Vault as collateral, and you're going to have to over-collateralize it, and then you mint the RA stablecoin, and then you're able to loan that stablecoin or use it somewhere else. You could loan it to earn interest, and you loan it to those who part of the Trustline credit network. So now we're bringing credit into the mix here. How they're going to do that, I'm thinking that Trustline credit network is going to have people's real identity, and they're going to have to take like a revolving credit loan from one of these institutions or gateways that's going to offer them that credit, and they'll have a trust line with it. So this is where we're starting to see that merging of credit with DeFi. But Flare Finance has their own DeFi protocols, but a decentralized stablecoin is not what Flare Finance has. They have a basket stablecoin.
Yeah, it's called Cross USD.
Cross USD, and that's Tether, DAI, and USDC all put together. But these stablecoins are needed. Now, a decentralized stablecoin, like MakerDAO came out with DAI. That's what really was the foundation of the DeFi ecosystem that was built on Flare. So we do need that. And I like how Flare Finance is a perfect complement to everything that Trustline's doing and Probity Vault. They're doing very different things here. But I'm excited about what they're building. Like Probity Vault, it seems to have these aspects that's really geared to, I don't know if you would say, Patty, like a little more conservative, a little more risk adverse, and, maybe hedge funds, payment providers, fintechs could build on that and offer services to their customers through that. I like the fiat gateway, the on-ramp and off-ramp. I think that's a good option to bypass the whole Coinbase and their fees.
Yeah, I mean, like the best part with Flare is, and I agree, like it does seem more risk averse than like Wild West on Ethereum. Ethereum, we hear about all these DeFi hacks that happen. And even in Ethereum's case today, like them trying to update for like a hard fork in preparation for ETH 2.0, they're having hiccups again with that. So like, I think it's going to be a lot harder for them to move forward into proof of stake. We'll see. Well, we'll have to keep our eyes on how that keeps going. But I think that's what's like with Flare. It's, FBA, so you don't have the value attached to the native token. It allows for more like functionality. And then, when we throw in the connections with the XRP ledger, I mean, it's basically making like the two interoperable with each other. So I think that's going to be really powerful. And then we're seeing a lot of like risk-free applications built out, through the governance staking pool and the APY cloud on Flare Finance, the FTSO vote rewards, since it's a detachable vote with your Spark. And they're really trying to prep it, I think, for like institutions to be able to build on this and offer, DeFi products to people. Whoever is going to be innovative and forward thinking from that crowd in centralized finance or traditional finance.
And credit too. I mean, revolving credit. If they're going to loan out, some of the RA stablecoin, it's going to be interesting to see, since they have some of the extra supply. Are we going in a direction where this could replace, some credit card aspects?
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. Yeah, and it's like, so if you think about it, when we're like, you could assign credit scores in some way on a blockchain, but like that information is at least public and what's going into that. So I feel like it's a lot fairer method. I have no idea how, they rate my credit score. I don't have that much insight into it. But when you have, the blockchain and the power for everybody to view, what's going on, basically, I think that's pretty powerful for creating new credit scores for people, or however they're going to imagine that on the blockchain. But yeah, I'm with you completely on that. That's going to open things up a lot.
There's a nice super chat in there. Thank you, Sampling Technologies. I really love what you wrote. This week has been great in crypto and in my life also. I think you write or speak for many of us this week. So thank you very much for that.
After 2.5 years or so, or 3 years almost, it's a pleasant surprise to see the value going up like this. And our volume, I mean, that's the other thing here. Volume is just amazing. I mean, we're at 34 billion, Patty?
Yeah, it was something like that, especially when it was running up from when it was 128 and then all the way up to 180 in a couple days. The volume was just off the charts, absolutely. Which to me, that's a lot more sustainable for bigger pushes as we go along here. Especially there's a lot of little points along the XRP's trail here in the future that'll be given boost to its price along through the SEC, what can come out after that. And so there's a lot of room to grow, I think, within this bull cycle. And I kind of want to steer it this way. So, we know how traditionally in crypto over the past 8 or so years, it's had these cycles of really high peaks and then really low valleys rather. And, we're on a peak right now, and I think we're yet to get to the top. But, do you guys foresee that we're going to see 90% crashes over a period of 2 to 3 years again? Or do you think we're at a point where crypto's a lot more robust? There's a lot more big institutional money in it now that, will hold up the market. And then I feel like there's just tons of more use cases. Back in the day, 2017 time, there wasn't a ton of cryptos that were being like actively used on chain constantly. And now we see like DeFi on so many different platforms. We actually see the XRP Ledger remitting payments across borders and doing billions of dollars worth of that. So I think we're in a lot different place than we were 3 years ago, and I think that will show. So,
Patty, I think about the Flare network and the the Spark token, and if it's actually going to back collateralize real world assets, it's just going to have an incredible value. So could it go down for a while? For sure. But if all of this value is going to be onboarding into cryptocurrency, I just can't, it seems ludicrous to think that there could be 90% swings. At some point, that's going to level out. Who knows? Maybe we get one more, but we're very close to that being a thing of the past, it seems like.
Yeah.
All right, so Spencer Ace H asks here, question, could USDC be an F asset, and would that be beneficial to the Flare finance ecosystem? No, I don't see it being an F asset. It doesn't have its own blockchain, number one. Flare Finance is already using USDC as part of a basket of a wrapped stablecoin using Tether, USDC, and DAI, just to bring over to have it's like a semi-centralized stablecoin, but RA is the real stablecoin. I think that is huge to be on the Flare network. Now that will satisfy pretty much. It will give the XRP Ledger another decentralized asset for things to trade against. This CUSD is going to basically be what USDC is. And I don't think it'll be F asset. It'll just be them wrapping it, bringing it over, using in the Flare X liquidity pools just to provide a USD price and things like that. I don't see what the benefit of bringing an F asset over would be. That means then you would have to put collateral up for the stablecoin to come over, and then you would have to pay rewards to that. I just don't see the benefit when they're trying to unlock value of these other crypto assets like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Doge, XLM, XRP. But hey, never say never. I just think that if it doesn't have its own blockchain, it's going to be difficult to ever be an F asset because to earn rewards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I see Michael L. Good to see you in here, man.
Thank you.
So
Michael.
he said Wanchain versus Flare Network cage match for the chat, maybe a combo for all on the topic. So yeah, I did see, and there's also another network that just linked up with the XRP Ledger that offers DeFi called Hecko Chain. I haven't really had a chance to look into that yet, but on the Wanchain versus Flare Network, so the way that they're bringing assets over is very different than what Flare Network is doing. And just like the bridges that they're creating in between different blockchains to link in. And also Wanchain uses proof of stake, which, I mean, personally, of my opinion, it's just like if you're going for a long-term platform that's sustainable and can scale to like trillions of dollars worth of value, I have less faith in proof of stake personally. And that's why, you know, I've kind of been in XRP in the past and now with Flare coming along. So, I mean, I think those are big differences. And then also this like basically trustless bridge between Flare Network and the XRP Ledger. I think Flare is going to bring a lot more utility to the XRP Ledger than Wanchain would. Wanchain's bringing more utility just to like the XRP token through using that value on their platform. So I don't know if you guys have looked into that much or any thoughts on that.
I'm gonna have to pass on that. I listened to Crypto Aries video a little. I just didn't get a chance yesterday, but it is something I think we will come back to. I want to answer Mikey G's question here. He asks, will putting your XRP into the Probity Bank mean you lose control of your XRP? All right, so you're putting FXRP into the Probity Vault. Now, you could just put it in there and earn interest on it and do nothing. At the same time, you'll simultaneously be able to earn F-asset reward still, which is in Spark. It airdrop to you every single day. You could use that as collateral also to mint the RA stablecoin and then loan that out. Now you'll receive those same daily Spark rewards and interest from loaning the RA, but you can pull out the collateral of FXRP if the value of that XRP increases, where now you're well over collateralized, you could pull some out, or when you pay the RA back, what you owed. So it's in your total control. Nobody could take it from you. Only you have access to bring it back. So hopefully that's really a safe bet. It's in a vault. You just have different ways that you could utilize it, as in just putting it there, letting it earn interest, collect your Spark, or minting the stablecoin and then loaning that out to earn more interest. So it's possible we could see more composability, where maybe that RA stablecoin could be used in something like an insurance protocol. It could also use maybe in Flare Finance eventually one day, and eventually plenty of other protocols. Think about MakerDAO with DAI. How many different applications is DAI used in? I mean, hundreds. So I think once we get that decentralized stablecoin, which I think is designed much better than MakerDAO's DAI, because it has this Trustline credit network token, which is like a premium governance token. It works on the XRP Ledger. It works on Flare. It's low gas fees. And basically, it's opening the fiat gateway for credit. And I really like that idea. It's a missing link in DeFi right now. It's real credit.
Yeah. I mean, and just the fact that the RE stablecoin and that whole project is going to add a unit of account, a decentralized one like you're getting into, is going to be really helpful, because I mean, XRP's price is, pretty volatile compared to, a stablecoin pegged to the dollar. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, Mickey, but the peg could change to something else in the future, like if something bad were to happen with the US dollar, right? On the RE stablecoin.
It's a soft peg, and right now it's just they're saying FXRP and Spark could be used as collateral, and there's different ratios. It's managed by governance, but we could also see other F-assets used in there, and maybe even tokenized gold, tokenized oil, tokenized silver, tokenized treasuries. I mean, the possibilities are endless. It's like a bank. Think of it. It's a crypto bank with different types of assets. F-assets make the most sense because the price feeds are right there into the Flare time series Oracle. And you always know those are the most accurate, decentralized price feeds to manage that collateral against USD.
Yeah. It's very exciting. So I can't wait for that interview. And I've seen a few people asking questions about, possible yields and stuff with Flare. So we have some blogs on the website that kind of outline how you earn, and based on certain conditions, how that will change. So we can't sit here and be like, this is what your APY for the year is going to be. Like, the system's very much dynamic, and the amount of rewards are going to be proportionate to what percentage of the value you have in each kind of pool that you are in, whether it's like delegating to the FTSO or earning F-asset rewards, and so on and so forth with the other DeFi products. So it's not something you can lock down and be like you're getting a fixed percentage. When you're trying to get like the upside in yield, it's going to be variable. Like, you're not going to get locked in at 100% yield for an entire year. Now, if you get in early and the yields are higher than 100%, which happens for some, DeFi products, then if you get in early and you do all that and you receive that yield, then that's just going to start compounding, and you can withstand lower yields in the future because you would have already built up a lot from that original high yield you're getting. So we're going to see it change. There's a very good chance, if there's not a lot of F-assets being minted right at the start, I would say less than 1 billion in value, the yield's going to be pretty high for what people would normally expect. But yeah, I would look at the website and see how that works, and then you can use your own assumptions and everything to kind of make your own opinions. So
yep.
Cool.
Yeah, I think what they're doing, it's just DeFi, it's just really just at the beginning right now, and it's just so exciting to see. once more and more projects and bigger money comes in and we start seeing more decentralized insurance, credit, like it's going to just keep blowing up more and more. And right now, Ethereum is the go-to platform, but I do not think it will last forever. All right, Spencer H asks, is RA stablecoin its own blockchain? What's interesting about RA is that it can be issued on the XRP Ledger, but technically it comes from Probity Vault, which is on Flare. And now Trustline Credit Network is also using, what is it called? The Handshake domain blockchain too. So it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know exact details of how RA is going to function. All we know is it gets minted out. And there's a vault, a treasury, and a teller. And they each have two functions, and they work together. So there's a lot of moving pieces here. We're going to really ask him a lot of questions, Brad and I. So Brad Kimes and myself are going to be interviewing him on Monday. So we're trying to gather questions on that.
Well, we're 55 minutes in. I don't know if you guys had anything else you wanted to touch on, or if you guys want to wrap up.
I was just kind of wondering the length that Mickey goes, if it's related to the price of XRP or not. I was kind of waiting to see.
I know. We're kind of just sitting around right now. I think we're in a little consolidation period. So nice thing is I'm not checking my phone as often for the price because I know it's not moving. I'll wait to see a bunch of people, posting GIFs online and stuff, and then I'll know it's time.
All right. Well, it's really nice to be with everybody. We got all these moderators here, and certainly want to thank you for just making this such a great group to be with.
Okay, yeah. I just want to throw in this last question here. K-Spec asked a good one, but it's not a stupid question, actually, here. He says, but can the government come in and say that RA isn't a stablecoin? I know the SAC can't deem it a security, but the stablecoin is a new sector for me. Well, I mean, to be honest, the government could come in and say whatever they want, but it's a DeFi protocol. I mean, what can you do on these decentralized networks that nobody has control of? They're all separated from, Coinbase and the regulated entities. So you could call it this, but what can you really do? I mean, right, Patty? I mean, what can they do if you're using it on a decentralized network, on a decentralized protocol? I mean, unless they go after the developers, it's going to pass along to the community members who own the governance. So at this point, I mean, the only thing they could do with it is if it was used by regulated entities on the credit network, then it could have some issues. But I mean, technically it's like a derivative, kind of. But we're going to see more and more of these. And I think we're going to see new programmable money that is going to give fiat a run for its money. Because this is better fiat, And
I mean, it's right. Like Flare's coming as decentralized as it can be. I mean, the airdrop that's being distributed to a ton of different participants, like there's no ICO or any of that stuff going on. Flare Finance is airdropping all their tokens or doing a fair distribution model for YFIN. Trustline is going to have similar things going on. So I can't imagine any argument that they could come up with at this point. The level of decentralization right at the get-go, I think is just going to overturn anything they'd want to do. And I don't even think they could try and attempt to do that. So I think the whole system will probably be good. Yeah.
I think so too. And they can't do anything to stop these decentralized networks. Like the inflation mechanism just continues on. It's going to reward signal providers who provide price feeds. If they're outside of the US, what are you going to do? I mean, if you're using self-hosted wallets and you're delegating to this signal provider, what can they do? You earn the rewards. The governance is not just by a few, so they can't censor those few. They would have to go after every single Spark holder. It's not going to happen. That's the power and robustness and censorship resistance of truly decentralized networks like Flare. I mean, the team is stepping back. Once the network goes live, it's all up to everybody who owns Spark to govern the network. That's what will be interesting. The governments, they're going to lose their control. I mean, if you want to bring assets and value back to Coinbase and stuff, we're going to see the FinCEN rulings, and we're going to see KYC and AML there. But I think PayString, this handshake network, and some other global ID, which is self-sovereign ID, come into the mix, and they're going to be able to innovate around these regulations and actually comply better with them, in my opinion.
Mickey, you did that really nice presentation reporting on the CFTC meeting, and the officials in there, they were basically saying we really don't know how we can regulate something that's truly decentralized. Yeah. It was fascinating to hear these officials just acknowledging this coming reality.
Yes, that was a Zoom call for Patreon. We covered the whole CTF presentation of them talking to the head commission. It was the FinTech Lab, who's very forward-thinking, and they hire people from Silicon Valley, a whole presentation. CFTC knows exactly what's going on with DeFi. They know the aggregation layer. I mean, they know better than a lot of the actual, presentations I've seen on regular YouTube or by these actual companies from DeFi. They're really ahead. So I'm excited to see Chris Brummer lead the CFTC. And
Mickey, maybe you can stick that link down in the bottom of this video. It was a very inspiring presentation that the CFTC made.
I gotta find that.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
You know what? Maybe we'll do a video on that tomorrow for everyone. We'll touch on that.
I would like that.
Yeah. I think that will really shock a lot of people that the CFTC is so aware. And the things they say we're looking at possibly a safe harbor. Now, this isn't just one commissioner. They were all talking about it. That, the Commodities Futures and Exchange Act really doesn't, cover this. And a lot of it is outside. They're like, well, how do we go after the developers then? And that's why some of these developers are staying anonymous. So that's one of the reasons. And then once it's sufficiently decentralized, what do? I mean, it's going to be difficult. If I'm getting Coinbase, if I'm getting Spark on Coinbase, how does that work? Will I have to move it to Ledger? It depends if Coinbase supports trading of it. And if you want to receive the Flare Finance airdrop, I would suggest taking it off there every time you receive it. You don't want to keep it on an exchange, in my opinion. All right, I think we're going to wrap it on that note, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, Dogecoin at 25 cents. I think that's a good time to wrap it up. Imagine that's a lot more value to bring on to Flare. So,
good point here. So,
yeah,
the value that's coming on to Flare is Doge at number 8. We got Litecoin at 9 or 10. We got Stellar right there. Those are 3 big ones. And we got XRP at number 3 or 4. And then Bitcoin. I mean, that's
possibly ADA.
And possibly, that's 4 or 5 of the top 12 crypto assets at a lot of value. And all you have on Ethereum is really, you wrap Bitcoin, you trust BitGo, and then you pay those ridiculous gas fees. And then you deal with big glitches when it's just like a little upgrade today with the Berlin fork. Wait till they try to upgrade Ethereum 2.0 and rip the foundation out. I want to see how that's going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck with that. I think it's 2026 we're looking at to that upgrade. So, on that note, yes, Lantern, Internet of Value. Thank you, Lars. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
Excellent job, moderators. You guys do a phenomenal job, always in the chats, answering the questions. And thank you, everyone. I'm Mickey B. Fresh.
I'm Lars.
I'm Patty.
And we are out.
Thanks.